Let me tell you about a kid who goes to the high school 1 mile from Tiger Stadium, who has spent his entire life hearing that crowd roar on Saturday nights, and who still almost left Baton Rouge for College Station. His name is Lamar Brown. He is the number one overall recruit in the 2026 class, according to ESPN, and the story of how he ended up signing with LSU is one of the wildest recruiting sagas in recent memory. But more importantly, what he brings to this program could reshape the entire trajectory of LSU football under Lane Kiffin. Lamar Brown stands 6'5", 285 pounds, and he plays for University Laboratory School, which literally sits on the LSU campus. You could walk from his school to Tiger Stadium in about 15 minutes. That proximity made everyone assume he was a lock for the Tigers from day one. But recruiting does not work like that, and Brown made the entire SEC sweat before this thing was over. Brown came into the 2026 cycle as a two-way lineman. That is not some recruiting service exaggeration. This kid started at right tackle on offense and lined up as a defensive end on the other side of the ball for University Lab. During his first 3 high school seasons, he was named a Max Preps All-American on the offensive line. Think about that for a second. The number one overall recruit in the country, the guy everyone projects as a defensive tackle at the next level, earned his All American honors on offense. The scouting reports all say the same thing. If Lamar Brown wanted to play offensive line in college, he would be the top interior offensive line prospect in the entire 2026 class. He's a 5-star talent on either side of the football, and there are maybe a handful of prospects in the last decade you could say that about with a straight face. So, what makes him so special? Start with the athleticism. Brown is not just big, he is a freak athlete who happens to be big. He posted some of the best testing numbers on the national camp circuit for a lineman, period. His arms measure around 34 inches, giving him plus length that allows him to control the point of attack from either side of the ball. On offense, he fires off the snap with outstanding twitch, works to the second level with ease, and once he gets his hand on a defender, the play is over. He takes defensive linemen for rides. As a puller and a climber, he terrorizes defenders in space, which is not something you see from many 300-pound high schoolers. On defense, he plays across multiple alignments, anywhere from a 1 technique to a 7 technique. He has the power to hold his ground against double teams, the agility to sift through trash and find the ball carrier, and the closing speed to get to the quarterback when he needs to. Over 3 varsity seasons, he recorded 91 tackles and 8 sacks, and keep in mind he was splitting his time between both sides of the ball the entire time. But the detail that really separates Brown from every other lineman in this class is what he does in track and field. As a junior, he won the Louisiana 3A indoor state title in the shot put with a throw of 56 feet, 2 3/4 inches. He also won an outdoor gold medal in the discus at 151 feet, 6 inches. He won a state championship as a sophomore too, taking the shot put title with a throw of 53 feet, 1 inch. You do not throw shot put over 56 feet and discus over 150 feet without elite explosive power and body control. Those numbers explain why Brown moves the way he does on a football field despite his size. The track background is the foundation of everything. That hip explosion, that rotational power, that ability to redirect and generate force from awkward angles. It all traces back to the throw circle. Now, here is where the story gets interesting. Brown's recruitment was not the coronation everyone expected. He had 33 scholarship offers from programs across the country. His finalists came down to 4 schools: LSU, Texas A&M, Miami, and Texas. He took official visits to all 4 in the spring, and by his own admission, it was 50-50 between LSU and Texas A&M down to the wire. Texas A&M went all in on this kid. The Aggies hosted Brown at least 8 times after June 2024. Head coach Mike Elko and his staff made regular trips to University Lab throughout Brown's sophomore and junior years. Brown built strong relationships with Aggies defensive line coaches Sean Spencer and Tony Gerard Eddy, and those relationships were real. In mid-June, after an official visit to College Station, Brown posted on social media, "Think this one closes the book," and then canceled a planned trip to LSU. A source inside the Texas A&M program later said simply, "We did everything we could." But Brown rescheduled that LSU visit. He came back to campus from June 20th through June 22nd, and that weekend changed everything. According to Brown, the LSU staff laid everything on the table, not just about football, but about life after football. The branding opportunities, the resources, the advantage of building his name in the city where he grew up. Staying home, all the resources and branding I can build for myself here, that made a lot of sense for me, Brown said afterward. On July 10th, he went on SportsCenter for a ceremony from University Lab and announced his commitment to the Tigers. It was the first time LSU had landed the number one overall recruit since Leonard Fournette in 2014. And then the coaching carousel hit. Brian Kelly, the coach Brown committed to, was fired. Lane Kiffin came in from Ole Miss, and suddenly the number one recruit in America, the kid who was supposed to be the crown jewel of the class, was in limbo. Brown's camp had real concerns. The defensive staff that recruited him, defensive coordinator Blake Baker, interim coach and recruiting coordinator Frank Wilson, secondary coach Corey Raymond, their futures were completely uncertain under the new regime. Brown attended high school on the LSU campus. He had developed deep personal relationships with these coaches, and now he did not know if any of them would still have jobs. When the early signing period opened in December, Brown did not sign. Neither did several other top LSU defensive commits, including Richard Anderson, Deuce Geralds, and Trenton Henderson. The number one recruit in the country was sitting on the sideline while the rest of the class was putting pen to paper. Rumors swirled that Texas A&M was making another run. The Aggies had never really gone away, and with the coaching change creating instability, the door was cracked open again. Kiffin understood the stakes. One of his very first moves after arriving in Baton Rouge was meeting with Brown face to face. Brown described it later, saying he was leaving practice when his agent called and asked if he wanted to go meet the new coach. They sat down, Kiffin laid out his vision for the program, and by all accounts, it went well. But Brown still did not rush to sign. He wanted clarity on the defensive staff. He wanted to know who would actually be coaching him. He told ESPN he had no plans to visit other schools, even if things dragged out, but he was not going to sign blind either. The situation played out over 2 tense days. Richard Anderson reversed course and signed on Wednesday after speaking with Kiffin directly. Henderson dealt with late flip attempts from Auburn and Florida State before signing Friday morning. Jared's followed in the afternoon. And then, on the final day of the early signing period, Lamar Brown put his name on the letter of intent. He stayed home. So, what does all of this mean for LSU football in 2026? It means Lane Kiffin is walking into his first season with one of the most talented defensive line hauls in the country. Brown headlines a group that includes Deuce Geralds, the number two defensive tackle in the class, Richard Anderson, a 6'4", 350-pound interior presence, and Trenton Henderson, a top 60 edge rusher. That is 4 ESPN 300 defensive linemen in a single class. Add in cornerback Havon Finney Jr., safety Aiden Hall, and the rest of the defensive commits, and you're looking at a defensive recruiting class that has immediate impact potential. Brown himself projects as a developmental defensive line prospect in the short term. Most evaluators agree he has more polish on the offensive side of the ball right now, and he will need to refine his technique as a full-time defender. But the ceiling is enormous. His combination of size, length, athleticism, and explosiveness gives him an incredibly high floor even while he's still learning the finer points of interior defensive line play. The track and field background means his body is trained to generate power in ways that most football only athletes never develop. He has the tools to play across the entire defensive front. And as he gains experience and adds to his frame, the projection is a high round NFL draft pick. For LSU, Brown also represents something beyond the stat sheet. He is the local kid who stayed. He's the number one recruit who could have gone anywhere, Miami, Texas, Texas A&M, and chose to play in front of the people who watched him grow up. In an era where the transfer portal has made loyalty almost obsolete and where NIL money can pull a kid across the country overnight, Brown choosing LSU carries real weight. It tells future recruits that Baton Rouge is the place to be. It tells the fan base that the program can still keep its best players home. And it gives Kiffin, who inherited a volatile situation with a class that was threatening to fall apart, a signature win before he's even coached a game. The 2026 LSU Tigers are going to look different. The coaching staff is new, the scheme will change, and there are still questions that need answers. But up front, on the defensive line, they have a foundation that most programs would kill for. And at the center of it is a kid from Irwinville, Louisiana, who throws discus over 150 feet, plays both sides of the ball like an All American, and almost walked away from his backyard before deciding that home was exactly where he was supposed to be. Lamar Brown is the number one player in the nation, and he is an LSU Tiger. This is Blitz All Media, where we bring you the latest news on the top high school football recruits in the country. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.